Hello there, Libra. How's everybody doing? I hope that you're doing well. Great to see you. Apollo and I are sending you many blessings here. First of all, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and what we'll be looking at today is, of course, Libra. You can use this for your sun, rising, and moon sign. You can use it for the next 6 to 8 weeks as well. I generally do these about a month ahead. But for those of you watching live, a lot of the channeled messages that we'll be looking at in a moment will resonate here and now. And then the messages kind of flow over into the next 6 to 8 weeks. So oftentimes I would advise you to kind of take a second look at this again next month and check in and see where we're at. I'm going to put Apollo down and let's talk a little bit about the format and what to expect today. So again, welcome everybody. The way that I organize the forecast is 4 major parts. I like to begin with a series of channeled messages, which I've already laid out here on the table here. And the way that I arrive at those, I get a lot of questions about that. It's basically through dreams and meditations. And the dreams come to me. I set an intention before I begin a reading the night before or 2 nights before to start to receive messages for the sign. So some of them come through dreams, others come through meditation. A lot of times when I'm walking the dog in the morning, because I'm kind of in a meditated state, I will receive what we need to talk about. And that's what happened today when I got your spirit totem. So anyway, that plus the act of writing, which is known as automatic writing, things will come to me as I'm sitting here and just writing. So those are the 3 methods that I use for divination. So we'll talk about that first. Then we'll move into the Celtic Cross. And the Celtic Cross takes on whatever energy it needs to do. I am not someone who focuses solely on your person or love. That is a part of it, but there's so much more in life. So what I will also be looking at are challenges that you may be facing emotionally, things that are going on around you. Career will be a part of that. If you're retired, it may be other things in your life. So we look at a holistic view in that Celtic Cross, and then I'll examine some specific areas in the expanded forecast: health, wealth, love, destiny. There's a mini review at the center point where we will consolidate everything that I've talked about, both the channeled messages and the Celtic Cross. And then I go into something much deeper, which I call the soul path. And the soul path is a chance to explore a little bit and see where you can get past potential blocks and where you can really grow. This month is all about expansion for you, Libra. Expansion and bouncing back too because of your spirit totem, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm starting to do something new at the very end. After we meditate, by the way, we'll meditate and listen to a singing bowl for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we're going to look at a question that you have, that you've been holding today, that maybe I don't have a chance to look at. So I don't take questions when I do the reading, but I do a special card at the end where I'll interpret it both as a yes/no answer for those of you that might be asking, should I not? And then a deeper one where you're just wondering about something. I'll go and look at all the different aspects of that card. So if you have a question, hold it until the end. I'll answer it silently, but through that method. Okay, so that's what we have in store today. And welcome everybody. Thanks to Maria, who's going to be helping moderate today. She can answer questions if there's high-level questions. Couple notes before I get started. If you're watching this live, first of all, welcome. It's good to see you, and you help make this energy really something that I look forward to. If you'd like to show support during the reading, a great way to do it is by clicking this little $ next to the smiley face. And basically, this is a way where you can give super chat, super stickers. I'm using a brand new deck today that I've kind of featured on Instagram and a couple of collectives, I think. But this is Prisma Visions. It's an indie deck, and I purchased it through your love and support. It's a slightly more expensive one, so thank you for that. This one is about $45. So all the help that you guys give me, I try to invest it back in supplies. There's also an option to join if you would like to, and I welcome you to do that. If you'd like to, you get some emoji, special emojis, and you also get some perks occasionally. I'll be doing a couple of collectives this month, and I often will reach out to my members and Patreon supporters for insight. So feel free to join if you'd like to. And finally, on replay, you can click the applaud button. So let's talk. Let's see what's coming through this month for you. So I always like to begin with what I call a spirit totem. And it's really a chance for me to connect with something in nature to help bring some sort of cohesive kind of purpose to the reading ahead. So yours was the beautiful sea star or starfish, which is what we mostly know it as. There's so many different varieties. They're so beautiful. And I haven't thought about this in a long time, but it was coming to me this morning as I was walking Apollo. And one of the really interesting things about this particular animal, again, here's something cool. They're not just like 5-legged. There's actually some that have many, many legs on them. But it's the regenerative qualities that they have. In particular, there are some species that can literally kind of split themselves in half, and you see those new little legs that it's growing. And other times, like one little leg sometimes can just be, it can start to grow. Let me see if I have one. Yeah, here's another picture. So even a single leg can grow a new starfish, which is amazing. So I know there's other animals in nature, certain types of like lizards and things like that that have that regenerative quality. But the starfish seems to sort of display it the most. And I think it's a beautiful creature, and it's got some really great messages for Libra. So let's talk about what's coming through. Again, some of you may know it as a sea star, but we're just going to call it starfish for the most part today. And the top 3 things that I thought of were like regeneration, recovery, and resilience. There's a lot of other things which I'll unpack in just a second, but these are the things we're going to cover first. So when I was surprised. I didn't know that some of them reproduce by splitting in half. That was something that I wasn't aware of. I knew that they would sometimes avoid predators by just letting go of an arm. Sometimes if something grabbed, like they could survive even an attack and all of that, but I wasn't aware that that was also a way for them to regenerate. They basically clone themselves. It's kind of amazing. What I got from this, which is really kind of important, and this is one thing that I think hopefully makes this a fun channel to tune into. I believe that each and every one of us we're whole in and of ourselves. We do not need another person to complete us. We may need to do work. You may need to do work on yourself to become more whole, more complete, but you definitely don't need another person and shouldn't be looking for that in another person. The main focus is to be like the Ace of Cups, to be overflowing. Because if the cup is empty, that basically is really exhausting for the other person to fill it up. So what we look at, especially in the Celtic Cross, is how to fill up that Ace of Cups. Once that's full, then you're going to be attracting some awesome people, friends, potential suitors, and business opportunities. So no matter if you're looking for love or not, the people that you draw in will be better. So the message here is you are whole and do not require another to complete you. Not only that, if you've lost something or someone in your life, you always have the capacity to recover, to come back. Even if it's not completely what it was before, you still have this ability to rebound. And that's the main thing that the starfish is teaching us today is regeneration, rebounding, rebirth, regrowth, growth, all of these things, coming back, bouncing back. And I think that's like the mantra. This would be what I would fly on the flag of 2021. It's got to be a starfish, missing a few legs, trying to grow it back, because that's what a lot of us are doing this year, is trying to recover, right? So to that end, emotional and physical healing are possible right now. The interesting thing, and we're going to talk about this in a second, the starfish has all of its vital organs in its arm. So literally the act of reaching out is very powerful for this creature. And of course, we're speaking a little bit more figuratively here, where it's sort of like picking up the phone, emailing someone, texting someone, but realize that when you put that energy out there, it's not unlike the starfish. There's this sort of vital connection that happens. So definitely do that, and also stretch a little bit. This is about moving your arms, moving your legs as well. Okay. If you've had any loss, focus on this feeling of I can and I will. Because if you believe that if you have that faith of recovery, then it will happen. You should set the intention for, I had to go back and look it up online to make sure I had the symbol right. But like in mathematics, I remember greater than or equal to back when I was doing whatever algebra. But think of never thinking of having like, this is the best and I'll never get this. No, think in the future, I can have this and or more. So when we lose something, a job, a loved one, a pet, someone in our life or whatever, and it's just sort of like, it'll never be this good. How about you throw something out to the universe, which is, I'm ready for abundance, and maybe I will find something just as good or better than this. So when we set the expectation high, we start to find opportunities that open up that sort of higher energy. So don't limit yourself. This is a theme that's coming through for you, Libra, today. I think one of the things that, and I can speak from experience, many of you know that this is my sun sign. Libra tends to overthink, visualize things sometimes. And what's cool about the starfish is it's a very sensory-based animal. and it feels things out. In fact, when I was doing the research, it looks like it even has light sensors. I don't know if I would call them eyes, but it can see through its arms, and everything is about feeling and sensing. I don't think it has a brain, not in the typical sense. It's really a sensory and instinctive animal. So this month, it's sort of the antithesis of Libra. And my guides have been giving me really strange symbols lately. I've been looking at bats, and I've been looking at cactus plants and things like that. But the reason that this came through for you was because you're supposed to feel your way through the month. Feel it in the heart, feel it in your energy, and use your third eye, of course, to sort of sense what feels right. Because sometimes what we think we want, or what people are telling us we should be doing, like in black and white, it's not what's maybe best for you. So this is a month of feeling it, knowing it, and doing it, right? It's encouraging also to step into your power, because when I looked at the name for the scientific name, it's something like asteroid, something like, they actually go into the star, even in the scientific name. So it's a star, you're a star. And basically this is saying the spotlight is on you. That's what I was saying right here. The spotlight is on you. And right now you're going to step into the star power, which is leadership, mentorship, and authenticity. Or at least these are the things that I'm hoping to see in many star-like energies out there. So one of the first and most important things to kind of stepping into the star power is to see yourself as worthy. If you can do this, others will as well. And that authenticity piece is super important. You have to be yourself. If we think of people that are successful in a public sort of arena, on some level, they usually believe it. They may have some insecurities, but they're pushing out the belief that, I'm the one for this job. Pay attention to me. So I want you to have a little bit of this where you're not shying away from the spotlight and working on self-worth. So, I guess one of the things that would be an area of opportunity here would be like the Five of Pentacles if it were to pop up. And this would be areas of insecurity from the past. Sometimes just a question in your mind, can I do it? Should I do it? Will they like me? Et cetera, et cetera. So you want to kind of ease those things out and step into each day expecting, I've got this, right? Okay. Like a star, you must organize what's around you. If you're not just an astrology, but also an astronomy geek, which I am, whenever there's sort of a big massive dust of, like if you look in the universe and there's all this sort of these clouds, like a nebula, and there's like dust and light and heat and all of this stuff, basically the star at the center, it's all of the heavy energy kind of comes together. It's helium and hydrogen usually. But once the star forms, then the dust around it starts to spin around it. It's an accretion disk. And then these orbits form, and then planetoids and moons and planets start to form as well. So what is it? It's like nature's organizer. Long story short, the star is the heaviest element at the center. Everything starts to rotate around it. So for you, I want you to see yourself as that primary energy that's going to look at, what do I have in my life? How is it helping or hindering everything else around me? So as that organizer, you're going to have to orbit things in, out, push them further out, bring them closer as needed. And you have that power as a star, as the sort of core feature of any star. It's really about your orbits this month. So the orbits could be friendship, work, relationship. Which ones are going to be closer to the heart? Which one are you going to push a little further out? Which ones do you just want to send into another galaxy, right? So this is a time where you really want to focus on how you're using your energy, what you have around you, how that makes you feel, and how that makes everything around you work too. Because that's kind of what the star does, is it brings order to chaos. Okay, so this month is about getting organized on many levels as well. Okay, if there are any situations in your life that are inhibiting growth for whatever reason, then please, please, please break away from that. What we saw with the starfish was the capacity to let go of something and grow again, or grow even more. I was doing some research as well, and they were saying some of the regenerative, the ones that kind of split in half, they live longer, I guess maybe because of the all those, I don't know, there's not hormones, but it's sort of like they're constantly in the state of growing, and it's not so much about aging. So if we keep moving, if we keep breaking free of a lot of these boundaries, we can be like the starfish and have this sort of longer life. Don't quote me, but I think one of the species can live up to 35 years. And for an aquatic sort of animal, that's not too bad. It's a far cry from what I was looking at with the saguaro cactuses yesterday, which were sort of like up to 200 years, 170 to 200. But this is not bad for an aquatic life form. So the actual act of bouncing back, regrowing, breaking away, kind of putting yourself in this fool-like energy, right? Starting fresh. I think that's going to be really important to feeling better, being better, and being successful, and having that longevity as well. Okay. This is something I talked about a little bit earlier, which is that this particular aquatic creature evolved to have everything in the arms. The center is like a big mouth and they can push their stomach out, but most of their necessary features are in the arms. So what this means for you, again, is feeling things out. How is something working for you? Does it make you feel happy? Does it make you feel queasy? If it's a relationship or a work situation and you're not feeling that sort of love, that's something you really want to focus on, because no amount of thinking it through is going to somehow make it better. And this is something where almost all the air signs can fall into that, that sort of trap of thinking, if I just can help them see it the way that I see it. So we're gifted with this ability to perceive possibilities and even sometimes see how someone can fix their life. But unless they ask for that help or want to receive guidance, you have to sort of wait and instead focus the intellect on yourself. This is a chance for you to really grow by leaps and bounds. Okay. Don't overthink things yourself this month. I want you to take action and go with the intuitive flow. If you want to do something, act upon that, really start to move towards it. And then the other thing here, going into the stellar energy of this and even taking it a step further, like even a star can be reborn, depending on the size of it. Sometimes they'll become a black hole, but usually there's a capacity for, like the energy to then be the sort of like our sun is smaller, and it's probably from a supernova of a previous one. And the heavy metals that we have here on this planet are part of a supernova. So the death of something can bring the birth of something else. And I think that's the important thing to focus on is maybe you're either at the end of something and you're starting that, new beginning, or you're picking up the pieces and starting to organize it. Either way, I feel like growth is going to happen, either through letting go or picking up the pieces. Okay. Limiting thoughts equal limited potential. So please release any self-doubt. This was the 5 of Pentacles stuff that we were talking about a little bit earlier. So the only surefire way to fail is either not to try, to think you can't do it, to doubt your own capability, or to do something that intentionally sort of just pulls you off the path. If you try, you have a chance. If you keep trying, your chances increase. If you start to believe in yourself and you try a lot, success is going to happen eventually because you're persistent. So don't limit your thoughts or your potential. Also, I mean, this is, if you take a look at athletes that end up in the Olympics, or if you look at even people that, get a record deal or get published or whatever, there's a part of it that might be sort of just, we would call it luck, but I would say it's perseverance, it's opportunity, and it's preparation. And for many people, it's also just feeling like, yeah, let's do this. They kind of surrender to the energy that is coming through. So definitely go with the flow this month. This particular message came from a dream. And what I saw was, you often will see this with like an actor that will also direct or write. So you'll see something like writer, director, producer, the slashes basically in their titles. And I saw you trying to describe yourself and you had a hard time sort of figuring it out. So I don't think you have to pick any one thing. You could just say, I'm creative. These are a lot of the things that I'm working on. And just say, I have acumen in these areas as well. You don't have to just say, like for those of you that have children, you wouldn't say, I'm just a mom or I'm just a dad. You would have other parts of your life that you would talk about as well. If you're married, the same thing. And if you're working, the same thing. You wouldn't just say, like, I'm a psychiatrist. You would say, yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm, I don't know, a football enthusiast, whatever. I want you to see yourself as unlimited, not categorized, because sometimes when we try to put these little boxes and lines and labels on things, it's very limiting. And that was something I had the Angel of Death talk about in the book that I wrote. When you stop putting labels on things, it becomes like you start to see your true potential. So think bigger than the labels. think in global or, even universal terms. Reach for the stars, reach for something that's really out there. That's something that was hard for me when I initially stepped away from a corporate path, because I imagined former coworkers or something looking at this just thinking, what happened? Instead of worrying about that, I hope that they actually tune in and get some advice now, and maybe it's a helpful thing. Because instead of for anyone that thought I lost my mind, I would actually say, no, I found my way. I actually found clarity, and I was trying to put myself into a box that I didn't fit. So I just broke through the box. So feel free to do the same, whatever that means for you. Maybe it means just going counter to the expectations of friends or family. So if you don't want to get married, don't get married. If they want you to go in a career and you found someone that you love and you want to focus on family first, do that. Who cares? It's your choice. They're all choices that we make that ultimately are our choices and ours alone. Okay? This is also from dreams, and this was the last thing that I saw this morning, which was hitting the snooze button too many times, and then something was already happening. It had already happened, actually. So I feel like there's a window of opportunity that's opening up next 6 to 8 weeks. It's really important that you don't hit the snooze, that you just push through a little bit, even if you're tired, even if you're uncertain. Go for it and keep on moving. There'll be other times where you can snooze, but if there's something that you're trying to finish, maybe it's finishing up some sort of a certification, a degree, a project, or if you're just trying to work on yourself and see some improvement, this is the time to push forward a little bit. We're in the springtime energy here in the Northern Hemisphere, but even in the Southern Hemisphere, it's fall. There's still a chance to kind of use the sort of growth that's around in spring and fall. So just don't hit snooze, don't procrastinate. I think the other thing that some of you might need is just a vacation or a day off. So set aside some of that and use that time for, of course, to rest, but then also to plan. And if you work too hard or don't take care of little things just going to the doctor, looking at your finances, cleaning the house, everyday stuff that we all have to do, going to the grocery store. Set some time for you so that you can take care of those basic human needs. And then as you're doing some of that, open your mind up a little bit to think about, how do I feel? How's all this working? Why am I working so hard? Is this really, or do I want to work harder? Is there something, do I feel bored? Whatever it is, give yourself some time to just think it through. And I think that's important, taking stock. Of course, if we all meditated, that would probably come naturally, but we're not always as good as we can be about that. Luckily for you, I put a little meditation at the end, so you'll have a chance to catch up today. But again, take some time off if you need it. This was very clear. My guides, as I was doing automatic writing, whispered to me, work your magic. Don't deny your true talent or your true calling. This past week, I just recently rewatched a guilty pleasure, but it's actually a fun movie, Practical Magic, and the Sandra Bullock character in that movie the entire time is sort of denying her ability to work with magic, right? And it actually gets her in a lot of trouble. So whatever your skill is, whatever your passion is, when you deny it, it finds other ways of popping up in your life. And then when it does, it's sort of oh, why have I been ignoring this? So if there's something you feel, if there's something you want to do, if there's something that you just need to focus on, listen to the calling, honor that. And don't hide from yourself. And then really lean into whatever that natural talent or skill is. If you're in a family, if you're in a conservative society, or if you're in a workplace where they don't support that, it might be time to look for a place where you can be supported so that you can be authentic, so that you can work that magic and really just shine. The cool thing, again, I see some people like that movie. It has a fun sort of energy at the end. Everybody's being themselves. They're authentic. And I think that's the key thing. I found in my life, whenever I'm not sort of true to self or authentic, that's usually when I end up running across someone that is not a good person or kind of triggers things. And there's not good or bad. I would just say they work with shadow energy. So when you are putting things under the rug, then you meet people in your life that show you the shadow side that you need to deal with. So integration is going to be really important in dealing with that shadow energy. And also quoting a line in that movie, clean up your own mess. That's what the ants told the two sisters. So this is a month where Libra is going to clean up whatever mess is around it and then really shine afterwards, because the star is your symbol. And there's nowhere you can go wrong with that, okay? Okay, kind of piggybacking on what we just talked about here, I want you to approach your work or calling, if you're retired, with passion. So if you are not happy with your job, we've all been there, myself included, don't phone it in. That's what I was doing in my old corporate career at some points, not always, but there were points where I just thought, why am I doing this? Why am I setting up endless meetings? Why am I dealing with this, this, and this? And it's just not actually helping things. There comes a point where I think for sanity, for happiness, for health, you realize that you can't. So if you're not feeling happy, don't phone it in, because on an energetic level, you're kind of cheating yourself, but you're also cheating the people with whom you're working, the organization, your boss, your coworkers. Karmically, that's not a great thing. And I had a light worker teacher at the time who basically gave me a little kick and a nudge and said, honey, everything you should do, you should give 100%, or at least 90%. She said, because it's basically when you're finished with your life and looking in life review, you're going to have to look at how that, what you were investing, what your indelible thumbprint or fingerprint was on this lifetime. And if you're only giving half or less than half, it's not going to be much. You're cheating yourself and you're cheating others. So do a great job always. And if you don't like what you're doing, still do a good job and find something else. And so I took that advice and I did it. It took me a couple years to figure out what to do, how to do it, etc. You don't have to immediately jump, but start to look at that. If you're happy, I've got good news for you, because what I'm seeing is growth. The star, we talked a lot about regrowth and rebuilding. So if your life is in a good place right now, keep doing what you're doing, and then more abundance, more growth. And I would say even amp it up a little bit more, step more into your life. Maybe help other people do the same. That's how you can pay it forward, right? Finally, most importantly, and this can be a mantra or an expectation that you can set in your morning meditation, which you can do while you're brushing your teeth. It doesn't have to be sort of sitting in a lotus position, listening to chanting. You don't have to meditate like that always. It can just be resetting your brain, right? Resetting your mental cogs. But I want you to expect a miracle or breakthrough. I put breakthrough here because it's something that we can all kind of connect to a little bit more. But if you're really spiritual and you're good at manifestation, expect a miracle. Let's upgrade that a little bit and say something amazing is going to happen. I'm going to have a breakthrough and I'm going to make some sort of really big leap, a quantum leap into a different part of my life. I'm tired of waiting. I'm ready for change. I've done the work. I surrender now to that opportunity. Come on in. Let's manifest. And then don't sit there and worry, but every day think, I'm ready. Today could be the day. Maybe today is it. And set the expectation that you're waiting for good news to happen, rather than waiting for the other shoe to fall, for quote unquote bad news, basically, to happen. So that's so important, to set the expectation for the positive. Okay. So as I'm looking at this, it's a chance to rebound, to grow, to organize, to think outside of the box, to work your magic, just like practical magic, and to also expect things to change for the better. When you expect it, you attract it. When you doubt it, or when you think the opposite, then you attract that, and you don't want to do that. Okay. So let's take a look at the cards, Libra, and see what additional messages are coming through for you. I'm going to stack up all of these note cards. If you missed anything, I know I kind of go fast at the beginning. Don't worry. I have a quick review in the center where I'll pull it straight up to the camera and you can read it. You should also follow me on social media if you haven't already. I post all of these cards on my website, on Instagram, on the community tab here, and also on Facebook. So there's a lot of ways to see them if you miss something, and I summarize it. Usually takes me up to a day to do that, so don't get impatient. Sometimes 10 minutes after, they're like, the title hasn't changed and you haven't put all that. Give me a day. It'll all be there by tomorrow, and you'll have a chance to see all of this stuff. So feel free to follow me on social media. Let me quickly give you my website just in case you want some more information, and then I'm going to get into the next part. While I'm doing that, by the way, the single best way to show support is just by liking and subscribing, because one thing you guys have been great about recently is just a little bit more interaction and engagement, and that helps YouTube serve up the channel to more people. So if you haven't already done it, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. It makes a big difference and a big impact. I see we have 100 likes or 105. So whoever's done that, thank you. Click this while you can. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you've subscribed but not clicked the bell, you can do that. And then later, typing some comments, even just thanks and some emojis, those things really help out. All right, let's move along now to the Celtic Cross. Again, sun, rising, moon is fine, Venus. I also read in such a way that the messages can resonate for anybody that's present, especially the beginning ones. So if you ever just need some company or some advice, you can pop into the channel, and this is a great way to see what's going on. Thank you for all of you that just said that you did it, and I see the numbers went up, so I appreciate it. So again, I'm using a new deck that is courtesy of everybody that is a Patreon patron, a channel member, or has contributed through some form of super chat. So thank you. All right, let me be quiet here and just focus on the messages. Libra, you have a lot of swords here. I keep shuffling the deck, but it is what it is. There's the Fool energy, which we talked about. There's the Growth, which we talked about as well. All right, looking good. Ending on a positive note. As I'm looking at, this is really cool, Lakshmi here in the health area, flow and prosperity. One of the cool things with a starfish as well is it kind of like pulls the water through it. There's some sort of like propulsion that it does. So that makes a lot of sense. Being in that sort of energetic flow is going to be super important. All right. We already have a lot of synchronicities with what we were talking about, especially here, Thoth, which is a symbol of death and rebirth here in the destiny. So that's affirming that the end result in this month is going to be growth, change, and for some of you, rebirth as well. So we've got the offering card here in your catalyst. The way that I read a catalyst is it's a way for you to stay in the highest energy, to embrace opportunities, to stay away from temptation or things that block you, and to make things get started. That's why I called it the catalyst. So I like this offering card because it's as much an offering as it is a receiving card. In Rider-Waite-Smith, most of the aces come through with a hand from the universe, from God, from whatever, from spirit, offering a cup, a pentacle, a sword, a wand. And in this case, it's almost like, are you going to receive the offering? It can be a practice that you're giving, like giving an offering to the divine, giving an offering of something that you've created, but it can also be receiving. So I want to see that reciprocity happen for you, giving and receiving. And I guess for you, the other question that I would ask is, what are you doing on a regular basis to give back? Because in order to receive, there has to be this sort of, again, it's reciprocity. So what are you doing to pay it forward? What are you doing to make a difference? If you take a listen to what I talked about yesterday in the Virgo reading, there was a symbiotic relationship between the woodpecker and the Sorero cactuses, or cacti rather, where they basically drill holes in that. They live in it for a while, but then it opens up a door for other animals after they vacate it to live there, like owls and lizards and things like that. So what are you doing in your life right now to open up doors, to help people out, to lend a hand? When you start to do that, you'll start to receive more. Just that simple act of giving opens up receiving. And if you're ever stuck in your life, if you've lost a loved one, a job, some sort of an opportunity, what you can start to do is find places in your life where you can still sort of be present and give back a little bit. And when you give, it's a signal to the universe that you're ready to receive, that you have more than enough and it's going to send more your way. When you're focused on, I don't have enough, I'm worried, it's not going to happen, things start to shrink a little bit. So put yourself in that flow of abundance, give and receive. And when you receive, give back a little bit. Even just something as small as giving a tip for your barista, that puts the energy in the right sort of frequency for you. Give a few coins, give whatever you can. When you give back, when you share something, when you donate something to charity, that is an act of, reciprocity, okay? So get into that flow. The more you give, the more you receive, is what we see with this offering. It's not just about getting, it's about giving, okay? We see now at the center here a chance to let go of fear. We have the Nine of Swords. I like this Nine of Swords because there's a fearless energy as this character is kind of looking at the teeth of this beast here. And a lot of times with the Nine of Swords, we make something worse than it is. And when we look at it in the light of day, or when we really face the fear, it's not so bad. So I actually see the Nine of Swords reversed as an advantageous card. How are you sleeping right now? That would be a sort of question that I would pose to you. Do you feel rested? Are you worried a little bit when you're going to sleep? Do you start to go through an accounting book of all the stuff you need to be doing? If that's the case, this is a chance for you to focus a little bit more on, like I said, those higher thoughts and trying to kind of be more productive. So meditating before sleep is good, and talking some of this stuff out is going to be important as well. Just kind of emptying out the headspace, I think, will help you out quite a bit. Okay, Nine of Swords is usually not as bad as it feels or seems. I like here that there is maybe the antithesis to just fearing it or worrying about it is to step into, what am I going to do about it? All right, I feel this way. What's the next step? Okay. We have the Strength card in the center, which is fantastic. I like this Strength along with the one that I was using yesterday because I think it was in yesterday's deck. I've seen a lot of Strength cards lately that don't have a figure opening its mouth, which tells me that you should speak for yourself. You should let others do the same. We see a person in the background, but they're not really dominating this particular lion. The only other thing that I see is that competition is a part of this month. Look at all the other little lions in the background. So it feels like this is the star that we were talking about, standing up, standing out, and really saying, hey, I'm here, using your voice. You can do that, Libra. And surprisingly, Libras are great at listening, great at speaking, sometimes can be very mild. But when you choose something that you really are passionate about, you can take that to a brand new level. So an activated Libra is just like what we see here. It can be a very strong leader. It can be a very fierce kind of advocate or adversary. And yeah, so I just say use your voice to the max. And it's something that can and will be heard. So you didn't get the woodpecker, but you got a Strength card with the lion roaring. So it's the same sort of energy. And it's a similar sort of thing. And what I notice when I do readings across a month, there's a common theme. So speaking up is definitely thematic here. But what you have to get over, I think some of you may have a fear of like, maybe what will people say? Can I find my voice? How am I going to get there? I don't want to hurt feelings. So find your inner lion here, find your inner Strength card and push that out, because it feels like the universe is really setting you up to shine. So just trust yourself, open the throat, and let what needs to come through come through. When I do what I do here, I pray for about 15 minutes before I go live, and then I'm meditating and working on this about 1 to 2 hours before. So I prep everything, but then it's really sort of crown, third eye, and throat. These things are working the most. So if you kind of if you set the expectation, your throat can actually open up and just kind of, it'll come out. So trust me that it will work if you start to practice it, and you'll get better at public speaking the more you try. We have the Ten of Swords in the deep past. So I feel like many of you are just getting away from this. This is something that you don't have to worry about so much, but let's look at what you might need to resolve since this came in the deep past. How are you feeling about maybe a past argument or disagreement? Are you holding a grudge because something just happened recently? Someone said something that kind of rubbed you the wrong way. I saw someone lost a job. Maybe there's just been something that's going on where you feel this sense of Why me? Why did this happen? It's holding on to something. And look what happens. This is a really cool illustration. It almost looks to me like they're caught in a wheel. It's the talon of the bird, but you see the 10 swords kind of going all around that person and basically just kind of trapping them. So when we're in that energy of holding a grudge, holding the pain, holding on, even the fact that this bird is kind of holding on to this person, all you have to do to release the 10 of swords is let it go. What's missing in this, I love this deck, but I do like the Rider-Waite-Smith version of it because you would see a new dawn in the at the top. So you would see symbolically the blood, the person, and then you would see a dark sky, but then in the distance you see like a new dawn. So I would say this is a really cool card because what happens, I know it's strange to hear that 10 of swords is cool, but it's an end. So we're all about recovering, rebounding, and new beginnings this month based on the starfish. So I would say what's important for you is to figure out, all right, that was, whatever that was, but now I'm ready for something else. I'm not gonna give that energy any more of my power, or that person any more of my energy, I should say. So move on is basically what I see with this. The 8 of swords here is coming through because of discomfort with ambiguity. Are you afraid of what the unknown looks like? Are you afraid of how something might be? This is just fear. So this is fear, and this is more fear. This one is when you get into your headspace and you just let things add up. This one is, I don't know what could happen, so I'll stay put. So let go of fear and let go of any grudge that you might be having. And then also just let go of, sometimes the 10 of swords can be what you put on yourself. You're too hard on yourself because you think too much. So this is saying, don't be hard on yourself. Look at what you have to offer. This beautiful strength card at the center. People look up to you. You have a great voice. You have this capacity to move things. So focus on that, because truthfully, other people are focusing on the positive aspects of you. But as we look into your past and recent past, and even the near future, there's some stuff here that we need to work on. Everything here is positive, everything. But as we're looking at what you can do at the beginning of the month, I need to get you past some of the energy around swords. And you saw me shuffling and shuffling and shuffling, but it still came through. So Spirit wants us to deal with this, okay? We have the 3 of swords in reverse in the crowning position. Actually, okay. It's an okay placement for this because this is about the winds of change. It's something that I mentioned before. When you look at this card, we see the beautiful winds carrying this energy somewhere else. We see 3 of swords in reverse, which is healing, moving on, opening up the heart space. And in the Little Prince deck, you'll see a rose growing around the swords, showing that life comes again, that love comes again, that growth comes through sometimes the pain. So everything you've done, I don't know if I wrote this card and then I think I tossed it because I had too many. I did. But everything that you do brings forth a lesson. Once you see the lesson, once you see what you're trying to learn from it and dismiss it, then you don't need to hold on to that anymore. So if you felt anything that has triggered you, your fear reflex, your uncertainty or self-confidence is kind of not where it normally is, then this is a time to just let it go because you're supposed to be expanding this month. Everything that I picked up on earlier was about expansion. The last piece of the swords and then everything else is nice and bright, but we have to look at this stuff because the guides brought it through. We have the 7 of swords in reverse. It's basically accountability. One thing that I look at that maybe is, I don't know if it's in any of the little white books, but I think of, and the little white book is the book that comes with most card decks, if you don't know. But my interpretation of this 7 of swords in many is that sometimes when it's reversed, it's saying, I've learned my lesson. It's the lie that we tell to ourselves sometimes, like when you're with someone in a love relationship, for instance, and you have red flags and you know that you're probably both ready to move on, but you keep dismissing the red flags until the flags get bigger and brighter and more in your face. That can be a 7 of swords. It can just be denial, right? It can also be saying you're going to do something, kind of knowing you're not going to do it, but still saying it. So this could be saying, oh yeah, we should totally hang out, but you don't. It's a very light version of 7 of swords, but if you don't want to hang out, don't say that you are, because you're planting that expectation with the person and it's foggy and murky. The 7 of swords, of course, can be a much more well, one last one that's on the light side of Seven of Swords would be saying yes to everything, including that you can do everything at home or at work or for friends, and you're overcommitting. It's a different version of Seven of Swords. It doesn't have to be dark. We all go through Seven of Swords moments in our life where we just say something that isn't. The other piece of Seven of Swords is someone trying to get away with something or just telling an outright lie. But what's cool is that your third eye is opening up. So you're going to see it before it happens. You're going to stop it before you say it, or you're going to fix it right after you did and say, you know what, actually, I looked at my calendar and this doesn't make sense. I think I need to do this. We can reschedule or cancel. It's up to you, but I don't have time right now. Just be honest. Just be straightforward. Be the Queen or King of Swords in reverse. We got a lot of swords, but I really want to see King, Queen, or Knight instead of these lower arcana, minor arcana. So to recap, release fear, heal yourself because you can, and remember that you are whole already. You don't need someone or something else. And then just be honest with yourself. And if you do that, great things are going to happen. And now we're going to get into that. My crown chakra is lighting up. So as we look at this Fool card, it has to do with something that you have been receiving. It's like either been a persistent thought. Literally, I kind of feel pins and needles all over my crown chakra right now. So the Fool card is really about stepping out and trying something new. It's interesting that this Fool is kind of like in the middle of the ocean. We see it on a pier or something like that. And I would say the next step for you is just to take flight, to spread your wings a little bit. The Fool can come through as a passing thought because I'm getting this sort of activation on the crown. So for some of you, I want you to think about, we have phones now, so we can tap it in there. Back in the day, it would be like a little moleskin journal or a little ring spiral bound journal. But if you get a fleeting thought, I need to do this, or maybe it's an idea for a lyric if you're a musician or something like that, just write this stuff down because I see fleeting inspiration coming through, and then I need you to act on it this month. So if you don't write it or record it, you're going to forget it. This is in your soul space this month. So liberation, freedom, risk, but like a calculated risk. All of these things are part of the Fool. If there's nothing to lose, there's nothing to gain. Anything in our life worth doing carries with it a certain amount of vulnerability or risk. So don't be afraid of something just because it puts you into that vulnerable space. The Eight of Swords is like, it's safer here if I just kind of lock myself up. But it's a prison. The Eight of Swords is a prison. So stagnation is a prison, and you want to liberate yourself just by taking action, spreading your wings and moving. Okay. For those of you, we'll look a little deeper in a second, but relationships this month start off on a much more casual note. So if you are looking for love, the Fool is very, very no strings attached. It's as non-committed or uncommitted as I could get. So I would say if you're dating someone, it feels like just enjoy the process and see where it leads, but it's not serious. This is a very loose energy. If you're in a relationship, this is about having some fun. It's kind of like the baby of the major arcana, right? We have a few baby cards, actually. The sun usually has a baby on it too, but this is the beginning. This is like a clean slate. So just try to kind of loosen up what you're doing, like the schedule, the energy, the expectations, the conversation. Easy does it in an existing relationship. And if you're single and happy, this is really about just reaching out, trying new things, taking risks. We'll look more at relationships in a second, but it came up here. It's also connected to the Four of Wands, which is in your outcome. So we'll talk more in a second. Environmentally, this is your main focus this month. The card is reversed, but I'd like to turn it upright. We have a beautiful sort of sunflower-inspired Eight of Pentacles. What I love on this card is how it shows the return on investment. This is usually a card that will come through when you're starting to learn. It's apprenticeship, it's discovery, it's integration. You know, the starfish is basically a big mouth that goes out on the sea. And I really didn't write this down, but it's coming through right now because we have the pentacle and it's reminding me again of the star. So this is a time to consume in a positive way. So the consumption here would be knowledge, experience, just kind of like soaking things in, almost like a sponge, really just allowing yourself to take in the good stuff. And whatever you decide to invest in, especially when it comes to skills or growth, absolutely comes back. Eight of Pentacles is fantastic. For business folk out there, whether you're, especially I would say independent owners, if you have an LLC or you own your own company, or you're a partner in a business with somebody else, I like Eight of Pentacles. It's very good. It's reverse, which means like it's a little bit bumpy, a little bit unpredictable, but we're mostly looking at a positive growth sort of angle for you in the next few months here. So look towards this bright stuff, and don't be afraid to invest a little bit in the business as well. Everything's looking good. That's environmentally kind of looking around you. So I like that Eight of Pentacles came there. For some of you, it's going back to school. And maybe for those of you with kids, that I know that in different states or countries, they're experimenting with that. But for yourself, it should be, how are you growing? How are you expanding? You need to be doing that in some way, shape, or form over the next 6 to 8 weeks, okay? And I see that there's a writer out there. Yeah, definitely. This is the more of the initial writing phase. So for those that are writers, Eight of Pentacles would be getting it down, getting a first draft down, maybe even deciding to write an extra chapter. It's usually about a download, a sort of mental download. And then the Three of Pentacles is perfecting it. Tower energy, when we're looking at writing, would be about revision. But anyway, with this, the other thing for some of you would be certification. You could go back and get a GED. There could just be something that you want to wrap up, but it will be good in the long run. I like whatever this investment is. It looks sound. Okay, really like that. As we look at your hopes, your fears, and your opportunity, it's sort of like, how do I stay inspired? This is what I was talking about with work. So we have the Five of Wands, and sometimes you get lost in the shuffle with the Five of Wands. Sometimes you lose a connection or a focus on why you're doing what you're doing. And I think at any given point in our life, it's important to take stock and think, if I have to do this, how can I do this and feel more inspired? What can I do to feel more myself? Notice how there's a little North Star shining up there, and we see one of the people kind of like reaching for that star. So I'm hoping that's you reaching up and saying, I'm going to get out of this, whatever this is, but I have to keep working until I get there. Don't give up, keep working, and then set your sights on something bigger, brighter. Don't worry so much about competition. It's kind of a waste of time. You're competing against yourself ultimately and your own expectations. When you get caught up in this sort of like, this mess of people here, it can kind of take you off that bigger path, right? We have a wonderful Four of Wands in your outcome. Everything that you're doing is setting you up for bringing in something bigger and brighter. This is a foundational card. If you've been with someone for a while, we have this sort of contrasting energy of the Fool and the Four of Wands. So there is this question for those that might be in a relationship where you've been dating for a few months or a few years, like, are we going to get more serious? And that's something that we can look at when we look at relationships in a moment. For the rest of you, this is really about setting up. It's kind of like Field of Dreams, right? You're setting something up and opening it up so people can come in. For those of you that own businesses, definitely this can have to do with reopening the doors, making it welcoming, reaching out, because the Fool would be kind of like walking out there and reaching out in old traditional methods through sending mail, through phone, through text, through newsletters, all that stuff, and of course, social media. So outreach is important. Set it up, let people know it's there, and then trust that it will come through. But the Four of Wands is very, very, very auspicious. And it's a really good note to end on. So I see better relationships in the future. I see better opportunities in the future, and I see more stability. Okay. So that's ultimately what you're being set up for. And it's also like a quarter of the year, 3 to 4 months. So what's necessary, hopefully many of you are watching this in April when I broadcast it, but even if you're watching it at the beginning of May, set the beginning portion for healing, working through the stuff so that at least the latter 3 weeks of next month can be stepping into the Fool, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Four of Wands. Those are the cards you really want to focus on. Taking a chance, moving out there, moving on, investing and working and finishing and perfecting something here, and then holding space for what comes next, which is good stuff, right? We'll look at the soul path in a moment to kind of see what's next as well. But let's first expand the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, and dig a little deeper here for you. So each of these is going to give me like a focal lens to look at these cards in a different light. When I start with the health card, we have Lakshmi here. There's actually a really cool mantra where you just kind of say her name, and it's about bringing in prosperity. I studied Kundalini Kundalini yoga training, and I did the teacher level 1 training. And one of the mantras that we did was the Lakshmi kind of one. So if you're ever at a point where you feel like you're blocked or not receiving, meditating on this ascended master, chanting that mantra, it's something that's really effective here. So if there's anything in your life that's blocked energetically, much like Ganesha, this is coming through to say that block is now lifting, but you have to believe that it's lifting. You have to, for some of you, you have to walk away from something. You know, it's important to your health. So feel free to do that if you need to. We even see an elephant in the background. So there's a little bit of Ganesha in there as well. We see here lotus petals here coming up. And the important thing when you look at any sort of lilies that are growing in a pond, for that lotus blossom to happen, it has to move through the muck, all of the sort of mud, the darker levels of the water. It's kind of like the moon card. It deals with all the stuff that you saw here at the center, and it comes up and you see this beautiful flower. So I feel like you're either at the bud version of that or you're starting to open up. And I felt it because this is the 1,000-petaled lotus, the crown chakra. That's the symbol for it, is the lotus. So many of you are opening up this month to something bigger and something brighter, but you have to kind of get through the muck. There's no other word for it. So whatever that is in your life, work through it, okay? Interestingly enough, with flow and prosperity, if there's anything in your internal organ system, and you need to work with your doctor, but I'm just talking energetically speaking, if there's a blockage, so if you have like cholesterol issues or blood pressure issues or anything with the urinary tract, this is really about making sure that that is getting fixed. For men, it can be the prostate, for instance. Anything where there's blockages, it can also be like deviated septum, whatever's not allowing you to breathe or to move or to flow somehow, definitely get a checkup. So I am not a doctor, standard disclaimers apply, but you should book your appointments with all your physicians to look through things, especially if you're feeling blocked or not quite right in some space. Now, we actually got one chakra that's coming through in particular in the love spectrum here, but this could also be where some of the issues are existing. So the base chakra would be right around some of the reproductive organs and at the base of the spine, and also around your hips, your bum, that area. So some of you might be holding on to things right around that base, and that's something that you want to look at. So go to the appropriate doctor and also give some love to that base chakra a little bit, okay? Let's look at some of the cards here to get some additional messages. Definitely for those of you that are having issues with stress in your life, you want to be looking at how that affects your blood pressure, because 3 of Swords is the heart being taxed out. On an emotional level, the 3 of Swords is how are you dealing with grief, loss, or stress in your life? So it's either like a psychologist or maybe just like a cardiologist, but there's something going on in that area, or focusing on just moving through things, healing yourself, forgiving yourself. But definitely that's the main focus that I'm seeing is like the base chakra and the 3 of Swords there. For the rest of you, clear up your sleeping environment. Whenever I see the 9 of Swords come through, it really has to do with what are you doing to make a peaceful sort of sleep happen? I have an older, well, I think I actually updated it last year. But if you go to my YouTube channel and search for sleep preparations, you can look at it on my website too. It's in the the new intuitive development series. So anyway, there's some preparations that you can do in the morning and the evening. And in the evening, what I would say at the very least, you should just imagine your room being sort of kind of coated in light, if you will, or cocooned in light. And then you would want to pull in an ascended master or an angel like Archangel Michael and set an expectation or program what your sleep should be. I got a questions, I think on the YouTube comments from Virgo yesterday or something, someone asking like, how do I get my dreams? I program them. I ask before and I say exactly who I want to connect with, which guides and what I want to receive. I don't just leave it open because that's almost like back in the last century when you were trying to tune things in on the radio, or like if you had a television and you were working with the antenna, you're not going to pick up as well. But when you start to really set that expectation that it's going to be peaceful sleep, you can just say, I don't want to receive anything. I just want to sleep tonight. Intuitives do that all the time. If you've had a rough week, you're like, tonight I need to repair my body. So everyone just angels protect me and let me sleep tonight. You have the permission to do that as well. You don't have to always open your third eye and your crown and be receiving. That's one of the things that makes me laugh when I see some of these TV mediums when they're walking in the supermarket, like grabbing an avocado, and then they talk to someone randomly. I'm like, you gotta have some boundaries, otherwise you're gonna be picking up things left and right. So have some of those sort of boundaries, and I think you're gonna sleep a lot better. Get out and walk. Simple walking is good. If you are somehow like not able to do that because you're recovering or in a wheelchair, there might be some other exercises you can work on with the doctor, but stretching and even just moving the legs is going to be really important as well. Those are the main things that I'm seeing here. It feels like some of you could have had a chronic pain issue in the past. Pay attention to that. If it comes back again, that's again another reason to pop back to the doctor. 10 of Swords is about spinal pain, and since we had the base chakra coming in, it could be right around the tailbone, it could be around the hips. So just pay attention to what your chair looks like, how much you're sitting during the day or seated during the day, making sure that you're stretching everything out. Those are your health messages. Ultimately, we still have prosperity on this though. So we see growth and abundance and change coming in. And one of the ways that you do that is by saying, I can get past this, or I'm going to surprise people, or one of the things that I'll do also is like, I don't have time to have illness in my life. So I just consider like, I put up my guards. I need to stay healthy. Obviously, sometimes your body says, guess what? You need a day off or something, but take care of yourself and expect that you're going to be strong. Expect that you can recover. Expect that you can get further than others think you can be, and great things can happen. All right, let's look at your wealth card this month. So for some of you, success is happening, but it may not be what you thought it would be. This is actually a good card, but there's something about it where you need to evaluate it. So let's say you were working for that promotion and you received it, you get it, and now there's more stress and you're thinking, I don't know, I thought this would make the difference, but it doesn't. So there's something that's either feeling like it's anticlimactic about it, or bittersweet, or not what you expected. This could simply be a Four of Cups moment. We don't have to read too much into it. So if the Four of Cups happens to you, then you want to just look and think, well, am I just getting into my headspace, which the starfish told us not to do this month? Is there something I need to explore? If there is, maybe I can talk to a mentor or someone else and see if it's just fear, if it's just doubt, if it's just boredom. What is it that's causing this? So look around a little bit. With the Four of Cups, which is kind of what the bittersweet card is bringing to me, usually there is a cup in the air that's floating, and it's an opportunity. So for some of you, there may just be something else that you're looking for. Maybe you did everything you needed and you're like, now I want to try that. Or maybe there's something that you didn't think of and you can actually grow one more step, go one more octave in this particular area. So just explore, okay? With bittersweet, there's always trade-offs in life as we decide to do certain things. So decide what matters most to you. Maybe you're thinking that you want to be, spend more time with your kids or more time traveling. We can't really do that right now, but there could be some sort of a trade-off where you think, I want more of that, less of this. So if you want to do it, explore it a little bit. I get Four of Cups. So it's just about taking a chance to sort of explore opportunities and do the research. You don't necessarily have to act on it right now. There could also be some bittersweet news where literally you've done well, someone else hasn't, or vice versa. If someone else is succeeding and you find yourself in a place of being challenged, so let's say a good friend of yours just got a house, a new job, they're in a great relationship or whatever, and you think that like, why is my life a mess? This isn't happening, this isn't happening. Just think how it would be to be that person. You would want to receive a congratulations, you would want to receive support. So support them, always celebrate the success of others, and then get inspired to figure out how you can build that for yourself. I always look at people that are doing well and I try to learn from them. I'm not jealous of them. I'm inspired by them, and I'm curious about the key to their success. So I take it as kindling for my own sort of energy to grow. So be inspired, don't be jealous, is what I would say with the bittersweet card. Because we all have ups and downs, and you don't know what they've been through prior to that. You don't know what's around the corner. So let them be. For other messages with wealth, definitely it's about investing in yourself or in your business or in something that you care about. I see a return on that investment with the Eight of Pentacles. You only got one financial card here in the spread, and it's a good one. The card reverse just is telling me about maybe having to put a little bit back. Also, literally here for those of us in North America, as I'm reading this, because the tax deadline has been extended to May. April and May, doesn't matter when you're watching this. You might be doing well, which also means you're going to have to pay, or you might be stressed out about paying no matter what. And it's just about knowing like that's something that you can't avoid. So give back a little bit and then just focus on, I'm going to make more. We'll get past this. Taxes aren't fun for anybody. But ultimately, you have really good things coming through. And the final card is actually something you want to focus on, which is back to the starfish, which we were talking about. Reaching out and networking is what will bring in the next thing, something that I feel like I've been talking about a lot. But it's through people that you'll get the next job, or through a connection that you'll get the next job. So, or the next opportunity or the next big thing. Okay, so remember the people that you love, keep those connections active, celebrate, because this is a celebratory card too. If someone's getting married, it could be someone in your family too. Celebrate their success. Know that you're now going to be hopefully the next one that steps onto that platform. Okay, good. Okay. Wait, one more thing that came through. If you're not happy, I do want you to pay attention to that and focus on your sort of exit strategy. You can't just sort of like do it overnight, but think about it. Is it 3 months? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? When are you going to make sure that you can do something that you love? All right, let's move on to relationships. We have the base chakra that came through. I talked about where that's at. It's at the base of your spine. It's around the reproductive organs. And basically what it has to do in a relationship with is, do I feel safe? Do I trust that other person? Is the sort of relationships or the key relationships around you, not even just loved ones, it could be family or work. Are people constantly trying to kind of knock you off your game? Do you feel like it's sort of like the tower energy where you never can kind of plant your roots and feel stable? You want to focus on stabilization in existing relationships and especially in new ones. So if somebody new comes into your life, this is about how safe you feel with them, how supported how supported you feel and how supportive they are. So if somebody can't support you for some reason, we're not talking about monetarily, we're also talking about just like verbal support, emotional support, all of that, then this is literally it's a red flag, right? For yourself, as a sort of area of opportunity, it's just focusing on things that you need to do to feel stronger in your life, to have a firmer foundation, to ground yourself. Making some plans, or stating what's important to you. Interesting that my throat kind of seized up as I was talking about that is going to be important. Getting out what you need to say might be hard for some of you. So focus on that. I've been showing this stone a lot this month, but it's not really a black stone. It kind of, I think it's labradite. It has a little bit of a kind of a rainbow or iridescence in it, but it's dark enough that you could use this. I have some other stones here that you can use as well for grounding. It's not necessarily the color of the base chakra, but they're good for grounding. So you can go and find a stone that resonates with you, that you feel like, okay, this is going to make me feel safe. This is going to let me sort of ground my energy. As spiritual people, especially if you're focusing on light work like healing or even just reading, you have to focus on the base chakra, because it's like, I was talking about the cactus plants the other day, the saguaro cacti. They send down a, what did they call it? A tap root. It's this root that goes really deep, which kind of gives it its sort of ability to be steady. And then they have spines within it. So we all kind of need to have that foundation, that spine, that root to connect us to the planet. If we don't, one little breeze will knock us over. So really focus on self-confidence, self-worth, safety, grounding, planning, and purpose. Those things are important, not just in the relationship, but just sort of like in your life. If you do that, relationships will benefit. If there's anyone that doesn't allow you to feel any of those things, it's time to move on. And some of you could be moving on, because the 10 of Swords and the 3 of Swords, that's a breakup card. What happens with these two, though, 10 of Swords happens when people just can't communicate, right? Saying things that hurt, feeling really bad, not really having enough positive to counteract the negative. And then the 3 of Swords is really just kind of the heart shutting down and saying like enough is enough. So I feel like it's okay if it's time to move on, move on. For the rest of you, that are single, happy, or not experiencing any of that breakup sort of energy, we see freedom. We see a really great growth period for you personally, professionally. And I really think that, this has to do with the month ahead or the month after that. We see the Four of Wands, the next quarter of the year. There could be a chance for a deepening of an existing relationship or a brand new relationship to step in. Okay. If you're in a relationship and things are good, I think what you want to focus on is being more honest with one another. Also focusing on sleeping sort of conditions. So maybe one of you works the night shift, or maybe you sleep on the couch and the other one's there. There's something going on where it's not conducive to the two of you kind of being happy. So fix whatever's wrong. Maybe just even buying a new bed or something like that. And for those of you that are single and happy, again, I just feel like it's about personal growth and new people coming into your life. So it looks pretty good across the board. A little bit of the healing has to happen though. So if you're in a relationship that doesn't feel good, whether it's a work, friend, or romantic relationship, that has to exit out first. It has to orbit out like the sun that we were talking about. All right, let's move to your destiny card here. Destiny is your trajectory. The way that I read it is it's not written in stone, you're writing it as we speak. So we have Thoth here, wisdom, also death and rebirth sort of energy with Thoth. So I would say what you want to be focusing on is, how do I come back from this, or what do I want to do next? How do I take lemons and make lemonade? How do I take all this garbage and turn it into like fertilizer? So this is your chance to make the best out of the situation and grow. And that's what I see here. And everything you've done is bringing you that wisdom that we see here at the bottom. It's made you stronger. It's made you brighter. It brought you to this reading today so that you could learn more and expand. What we're going to do right now is a mini review. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper. I want to see in the next portion, I'm going to pull a card to see what's going on with the swords, because we got a lot of them. So I'll say, is there anything that you can do? I'm going to write it down so I don't forget it, because after I do the review, I forget this sometimes. So I'm going to write down, how can you heal? What can you do for healing? So I'm just going to write down healing. And the next thing that I'm really curious about here is this sort of Eight of Pentacles growth. So what's coming on the horizon for growth? With the healing one, I'll also just look broadly at relationships. To see if there's anything else that needs to come through. And then we usually do a wild card, and then I'll do that final question at the end. All right, so let's quickly review. If you just joined, perfect timing. Even if you've been here, I usually get additional insights, so stick around until the next portion. Your spirit totem this month was the beautiful starfish, or sea star, depending on how scientifically correct you want to be. 3 major things came to mind when I thought about it, and this is something that you want to focus on this month: regeneration, recovery, and resilience. And I think because of what I'm seeing around the center, this makes a lot of sense. There's a little bit of residual pain that some of you are working through that you're going to be able to bounce back from. And the Fool card is showing you that when you're ready, you can spread your wings. It's kind of up to you to decide when and how. I talked about how cool the starfish are because of their regenerative capabilities. Some of them can even split themselves in half and regenerate a new half. And that led me to the next message, which is, you're already whole. You don't need someone else to complete you. I hate that line. I don't use hate very much, but in Jerry Maguire, nobody completes you. You complete you. You are your person. You call in other people when you are full, and that Ace of Cups overflowing. So my goal each and every month is to get your cup to the overflowing part, so that people that you pull into your life are also overflowing. And that way it's just 2 kindred spirits celebrating and amplifying each other's higher frequency, not one cup filling the other. All right, emotional and physical healing is possible. You got to reach out. This is some of what I was talking about here. If you need to talk to someone, please do. And the act of reaching out is also going to open up opportunities for you if you're looking for a new job. This is about, sending a LinkedIn message, or sending a text, or messaging someone on Facebook. Reach out. You can rebuild, rebound from any losses, but you have to have faith. If you lack the faith, you're going to lack the progress as well. Set the intention for recovery and make it this sort of mathematical symbol, greater than or less than what you had before. I learned this lesson when I was in grad school, and I would lose a project or something, because I used to work on video editing at that time, and we were using like little jazz drives and zip drives, and they weren't very resilient. But my professor said, use this as a chance to make a cleaner project, or, and it was usually better. Same thing has happened when I've written before and I've lost a few pages. I just kind of go back into my memory, and then I usually come up with something that's better. So you can rebuild, and it will be either the same foundation or better than before, because you just have the capacity to rebuild. So do it. All right. It's encouraging you, the starfish, to step into your star power, which includes a few things here: leadership, mentorship, and authenticity. The authenticity piece, I think, is the most important to success. If you see yourself as worthy, others will as well. If you don't, it's going to be really hard to convince someone, especially if you're job seeking. So take your time, trust yourself, and let others see that star power as well. Organizing whatever's around you is so important this month. We talked about, just like being a star, part of its duty is to create orbits to clean up the sort of dusty mess that you would see in a cloud nebula. So some of you are choosing to do that this month. Break free from any people or situations in your life that are inhibiting growth. Just like the starfish, you can grow again, you can recover. You're not losing yourself, you're not losing anything in that process. All of the vital organs in a starfish actually exist mostly in their arms, which is why they can kind of regenerate from a single arm. What's important about this for you, and why I'm mentioning it, is you need to feel things out. Feel it, don't think it, and don't overthink this month as well. Trust the intuitive flow that's coming through. You're being led down the right path, okay? Next thing here is to take action and go with that flow, and don't second guess yourself. Supernova. If you've experienced a loss, this is your chance to not only kind of come back, but try to do something different. I missed this on the first part through because there's just so many things that I'm covering. Don't repeat the past. Try to do something different. Rearrange those elements into something newer and better. When one star dies, that's how we get things like gold and silver and those sort of metal things that we have on this planet. Limiting thoughts will limit your actions and limit your possibilities, so don't do that. You don't have to describe yourself as one thing. Think in a more universal or global context, and things will be better for that. You'll open up more doors that way. Someone said they just fall asleep. Don't snooze. Don't hit the snooze button this month. I think it's really important for you to avoid procrastination when and if possible. If you need time to rest, do it. Just really try to also give some time to think through things and figure out, like, where am I at? Take stock of the moment. Work your magic, just like we were talking about the Practical Magic movie. Don't deny your talent or your true gifts, because when you do, they have a way of popping up, or you have regret, and we don't want to live life with regret. Approach your work or your calling with passion, and if you don't feel it, find a way to move on. It's cheating you, and it's cheating others to just phone it in. You can't phone it in. Expect a breakthrough, or better yet, expect a miracle. Offering is really important here, because when you give, you receive. And that's one of the ways to break through any sort of lack in abundance, is just to start to give back and start to feel like the floodgates are opening. So in order to receive, you have to give something. And once you've received something, give back. It just keeps the flow happening, which I like here. If someone is giving you an opportunity this month, it feels like there might be some hesitation. Are you ready to receive it? You don't want to give off mixed signals. That's one of the things that we saw with the Seven of Swords here. Deep past, we have, actually, let's start at the center. Nine of Swords, look at your sleeping situation. How do you feel? How is the room set up? Also, how are you connecting? If you live with someone during the nighttime, is there some sort of incompatibility going on? If there is, you have to focus on healing and repairing that. The Strength card here is showing you that a lot of the sort of fear and insecurity we are seeing around the center is an illusion, because this is your true sense. This is your true self. So step up, speak up, be yourself. Let go of old pain. It's time to move on. If you have any sort of pain in your spine, obviously go straight to the doctor. Stop listening to this reading. If you're having any blockages in your body, also go to the doctor. But most of this has to do with energetic flow. That's how I read. So it's time to open up your heart. It's time to let go of this sort of energy or grudge or pain that you're holding on to. Fear of moving forward is natural, but don't let it hold you back. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with others. As honest as possible, the Seven of Swords is encouraging you. Accountability and honesty. Taking a risk, a calculated risk, is good, because we have the Eight of Pentacles here. Five of Wands, don't give up. Don't kind of just clock in at 50% either. Give 100%, because something great is on the horizon here, and you really want to welcome in that opportunity wholeheartedly. Okay, as we look at your health this month, there's a chance to get past any blocks that you have. Flow and prosperity is the key. So I mentioned also, for those of you that are experiencing some sort of a block, talk to your doctor. This is a time to figure out how to fix that. With the base, again, the spinal health is really important this month as well. Bittersweet. Some of you have achieved something, but it was either anticlimactic or it didn't. There's something else that you're looking for. So figure out what it is, figure out if it's in your head. It's really a Four of Cups moment more than anything. So I think that you don't want to take quick action on this. Just figure out what else you need in your life. Unless you're truly unhappy in a job, and that could just be showing you that trying to live vicariously for others isn't enough. So we see this sort of, I don't know if it's a girl or whatever, but she might be giving it to her mom. So if you're trying to do something for parents, for boss, for society, and it's just not feeling right, that's because it's not you. So do what you need to do for yourself. It's time to move up, to move on. We have 8 of Pentacles here in the environment for wealth, which is good. For those of you that are retired, this is about the fact that you never stop learning, you never stop growing. Same thing for people mid-career. Growth is part of this until our last breath is exhaled, you should be growing, basically, right? All right, the next thing here with relationships, safety, security, being on the same page, being supported, reciprocity, all of those things are important. Can you express yourself and without a fear of retribution? All of these things should be happening. Focus on yourself, your safety, your security, and I would also say self-worth. All of these things are going to help you out quite a bit in relationships. Some of you need to exit from a relationship, and it might mean, speaking up and saying enough is enough. And that's what these 2 cards are doing in very different ways. It's using your voice. This is someone that might be trying to shut you down, and this is you coming right back and saying, not today, not ever. It's time now for me to move on. So for the rest of you that are single and looking, I would say, the only thing that I'm seeing right now is that personal growth and development is the main focus. It feels like relationships coming in at the present are more friendship first, something can grow. Really feels like next couple of months are opening up the 4 of Wands. Single and happy, it's a good time to be single and happy here because, again, I just see like work, school, and development being the main focus. And retired, it's about life purpose. If you're retired, widowed, or not interested in relationships, it's really about what am I going to do to invest in myself. Finally, everything that you've done has made you stronger, wiser, and has brought you to this point today. So see it as a blessing, not as a curse, not as something that you did that is quote unquote bad luck. All right, that was a lot. Let's take a look now at your soul path. And I wrote stuff down so I wouldn't forget it. So we're going to look at healing because you got a lot of swords. So let's see what the message is for healing or being happier in relationships overall. Or just being happier. So what's coming through? How can we deal with all the swords energy? Okay, we have the 5 of Cups. Really lovely card. This reminds me of Starry Night. All right, so this 5 of Cups is, let me look real close here. It's almost as if something's, yes, you're letting go. There's a release. So the interesting thing with 5 of Cups, yesterday it came through also for Virgo. I think it might have been in the crowning position or something, or maybe I got it in the expanded forecast too. But it's a morning card, but MOURNING. But what we really see here is the new energy of the new day coming through. So let it go. Let it go, and then take those extra 2 cups and do something amazing with it. So yes, there's something you've lost, but there's so much more to gain, and there's so much more to do. And there's a beautiful, bright new day that's on the horizon there. So I think it's about, if you can even find a way to celebrate what was lost and say, I'm better off now, right? If you look really close, the 2 cups are up there, and then you can see this person letting them go. It feels to me like it was intentional. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I just lost 3 of these chalices. The person said, enough with this, enough with this, enough with this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to move on. So release. I would say it's time to let go. If it was sort of a question of should I go, it's a yes. If it's a question of how do I move on, it's by letting that water kind of be water under the bridge. Let it go, let it flow. Focus on what can I do for myself? What can I do next? Perspective, a shift in perspective. Blessings. And it's a bright, bright day. So I see better days ahead. Focus on that bright light that's on the horizon there, okay? Let's go to the next question, growth. Let's look at where you can grow because we have the 8 of Pentacles. that came through in the environment. So what can you do to either embrace it or avoid a setback with respect to growth? There we go. That's the sword that I really wanted to see. And we combine that with the strength card. This is speaking up and taking action. So this is the starfish also. It's just a matter of you being ready to do it. So speak up or act. Action. Simply put. So what are you doing to do that? It can also be writing and public speaking, of course. I saw that some of you do that anyway, but it's time for you to take some action. All right. We're going to do a wild card here, and I'm going to say, what haven't we discovered already that we need to for the month ahead for you to be in your best and happiest and most joyful light? Okay, so this is about needing to let go. I really like this death card because it focuses more on the rose, which we saw yesterday in the strength card, actually, I believe. So there's a sort of parallel between what I was reading yesterday and what I'm reading today. So you have the strength and the capacity to move through this, to thrive, and there is growth after this sacrifice, this death, or this loss. There's something better on the horizon. So transformation. I wish the card was called transformation, but death is good because it grabs our attention. Death, rebirth, transformation. Something has to leave in order for something to grow, for something to change. Okay, so if we were to review these three messages before we meditate, and then I look at your private message that you'll be sort of psychically blasting at me. The first thing is, I mean, at either end, bookended, is a very subtle and gentle mourning or release, and then we actually see it happening, and then we see making peace with that release. And then in the middle of all of this comes some sort of an opportunity to grow, to change, but there's action that's required on your part. So are you ready for that offering? Are you going to do something about it? And I feel like the ball is in your court when it comes to that. So take some action this month and expect that you can walk into significant change. Death is not bad, especially when it's preceded by those two cards. Okay, let's move into a meditation. Before I do that, just a couple of notes. After the meditation, I'm going to answer a single question that you just think, and I will pull it as a yes, no, and then I'll also figure out what else needs to be known about it. So think about that as I'm talking and as we get into the meditation. I see we have some new folks that joined today, so welcome. If you haven't already hit the thumbs up, please do it. I see we have like half the amount of likes as the people in the room. It really does help with engagement. So just click that little thumb up if you can, subscribe, and hit the bell if you haven't. Because YouTube algorithm views this sort of as it's sort of like a vote of confidence. And so the more you interact with the video, the better. And if you watch this later on replay, click the share button, click an applaud button, do anything that you can to sort of say, hey, I'm here and I like what I'm seeing. One more sidebar before I get into the meditation. If you would like to learn more about me, join me on social media. I repost all of those handwritten cards on these social media platforms. So Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, you'll find all of it there. Plus my website, the link is pinned at the top. I'm on TikTok, Goodreads, and Patreon as well. Someone asked yesterday, what's the difference between Patreon and joining here? When you join here, you get some extra emojis, and your text changes color, and I can see it. So it's just a few perks on visibility, but you'll get the same access. Patreon allows you to give a little less if you want to. So if your budget's tighter and you just want to give it like $1 a month or something, Patreon allows you to kind of pick how much you want. So that's the main difference. I'm also on Twitter. It's a slightly different username. It's Ashbaugh. And that is everything. So let's get into the meditation. Again, stick around. After this, we'll be reading a special message that to like an answer to your question. So one moment. So for today, as I'm looking at all of the messages that we've been looking at, it feels like I really want to help you heal and release. I mean, the last card literally was death and rebirth. So let's imagine that you're going to kind of like walk through that energy of like the phoenix, if you will, rising from the ashes. That might be a nice metaphor. I haven't used it for a while. So let's see you as the phoenix rising from the ashes and allowing yourself to step into a new light. All right, so the meditation will take 2 minutes and then I'll answer your question. All right, close your eyes. See yourself at the dawn of a new day, but it's the twilight phase right now. where you're walking through, basically walking in a path in the forest. It's dark. You can see some of the stars above you, but it's sort of like that bluish energy, the bluish light that's around in the nighttime. So as you walk around, I want you to take a moment and think about all of the things that have triggered you, for positive or for better, for worse, and imagine that you kind of have this, they're behind you. It's your past. It's following you. And as you're starting to walk towards the end of the path, you see this portal of light. It's kind of like if you've ever watched Interstellar, the movie. It's almost like this circle. It's because we're going to go through like a wormhole of energy. So you see this mirrored sort of surface here, like a beautiful mirror in the shape of a circle. And you can see yourself. And as you look into the reflection, you can see what's behind you. And I want you to close your eyes for a minute, take a nice deep breath. And then just in the meditation, imagine that you open your eyes and look into the mirror again. And I want you to see how you have shifted, how your light is brighter. And then I want you to turn around for a second and bid farewell to all of the lessons of the past. Shine your bright brilliantly towards all the trees, towards all the sort of darker corners of the world, and see yourself as the sun. You are the rising sun. And as you do this, whatever you were afraid of, it takes on a new light. Maybe it gets elevated. So if there was someone that you disliked, maybe you see something about them that you either admire, that you understand, that you forgive, or they just fade away. Whatever is happening, anybody that remains will be elevated. Anybody that cannot stand in your light will move on, will dissipate, because your frequency is raising. Turn back towards the mirror, which is really a wormhole, and imagine where you want to go next, because now you're in good company. You have sort of spread out your arms like the starfish, these rays of light. Everything that you touch, like the Midas touch, is going to be elevated, is going to be in the highest frequency. Let's focus on bringing your frequency up a little bit, and then we're going to walk through the wormhole onto the other side. So close your eyes, see your light shining, see your arms reaching out, and allow yourself to expand and raise your frequencies, thinking, I can, I will, I am achieving the goals. I am ready to receive. All right, take a nice deep breath, inhale. Exhale. Take a look in this beautiful portal that's in front of you. Notice that the mirror is gone and you actually see an opening now, almost as if a gigantic sort of wrinkle in time was opened up and you can step through it. Whatever you've been dreaming, whatever you've been imagining, you're now one step closer, maybe a few steps closer than you imagined. So allow yourself to move through the portal, looking over your shoulder, bidding farewell again to what was, looking at now what is, what will be, and embracing that, the true energy of the Five of Cups, knowing that it's about potential. When you focus on the potential, then you become the magician and you actually own your energy and you work your magic, which was one of the messages that I had for you from your guides and from mine. Take your hands together, rub them, and put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that. Feel the warmth, the heat, the light that you always have within. Make a promise to yourself that you're going to work, that you're going to be true to your vision, that you're going to really work your magic, work your passion. Okay? You can open your eyes now. I want you to think about the question that you have for me. This is the closest that I come to answering direct questions here. By the way, on my Instagram, sometimes I have fireside chats where I interact a little bit more or I preview a new deck. So if you want more interaction, you can join me there. But for the general ones, this is what I do. So I want you to psychically broadcast. I'm going to put a little orb of light around me. I want you to psychically broadcast what you want me to look at. It can be a yes/no question. It can also be something a little bit more open. And I'm going to read the card both ways if I can. Some cards aren't yes/no, so I'll try to give the best that I can. And let's see what's coming through for you. Whatever your question is, I want to try to give you the best possible answer. So let's see. All right, we have the Tower. So this would be, as a yes/no, this would tell me that this would be a trade-off. So if you want to do something, new job, new relationship, this is saying yes, but you're going to have to make some big changes in your life. This can be very exciting. This Tower is not scary, by the way, if you look at the way that it's written. It's just sort of like the dawning of a new day. So I think for you, yes, but there's some things that you need to look at: opportunity costs, trade-offs, discomfort that might be coming through. So we're also looking at the house, and one thing that I've been mentioning foundationally with houses this month is just to look at it. I don't love that this one's on a cliff. So how much stability are you going to get with this opportunity? Can you afford to take the risk? That would be my sort of follow-up question to you. So yes, change is possible, but there's a trade-off and there's definitely risk associated with it. As a deeper sort of thing, the Tower is saying that this is coming through because it's time. So as long as you move into the energy of transformation, the Tower becomes beautiful. If you hold back on the change, the Tower becomes disruptive. So embrace the change that's coming through. You can't avoid it. That's one thing that's universal on all usually interpretations of death. If you've ever wondered what the imagery means, when you see like a king on the floor, you see a mother, you see a child, and you see just an average person or whatever, it basically means that the energy of transformation or death is indiscriminatory. Everybody is affected by change. Change is here and you can't avoid it. So you either embrace it or it just happens anyway. So I feel like it's important to make the changes that you feel like you need to make. And ultimately the Tower is saying, move, moving on. So some of you are going to move to a new house. You've changed jobs. The job has been taken away. A relationship is maybe going towards marriage or towards divorce. Something's happening to either stabilize or destabilize. But the Tower is ultimately a blessing because there was stagnation. There was maybe indecision, or this can be indecision or just sort of like flaky kind of energy. So this is bringing you towards clarity. It's very kind of binary, the Tower. It's going to be moving towards and moving away. There's not a lot in the middle. We didn't get a reverse Tower, which would have said rebuilding. So this Tower in the upright position says it's time to kind of like embrace what's happening and move on. Ultimately, I think it's good, but there is moving for sure that's happening. So some of you may have to move for a job, for a relationship, or for your well-being, and change is happening, multiple change cards coming through. And if you felt like things haven't been the way you wanted it, then this is actually an auspicious sort of placement of it because you can't avoid the change on the horizon, okay? Hopefully that helps you. And the last thing that I would say for you is that if you want to make some sort of a rebound, remember with the starfish, to me, this is about regeneration. And this can be about rebuilding depending on how you flow into that energy. So just see the positive aspects of these cards. Big changes are ahead for you. They may take you by surprise. This could be a positive surprise. Like I said, new love, new money, new job, some sort of a big wow sort of moment. So let's hold out for that. And let's pay attention to the warning signs that may pop up in other areas. And then if it's time to walk away, to release, or to speak up, you have to do that, okay? Thank you so much for showing up today. And it's really great to have a bigger audience as well. If any of you are new, one more time, I'm gonna say, please hit the thumb up or the subscribe button, because I have no idea after all these years how the YouTube algorithm works. So sometimes it serves it up, sometimes it doesn't. So if you wanna find me again, the easiest way is to hit the subscribe and I'll just show up in your feed. if you want to get a notification on your devices, click the bell. And if you like this, it's free and it helps me. Hit that thumbs up. If you'd like to give back in a different way, I'm also an author. I released a book last year called The Luminous Ones. It's great if you enjoy science fiction or fantasy books like Dune or Lord of the Rings. So that's available on my website, and it's available worldwide. It's only in English right now, but if you click the link on my website, you'll see that there's a lot of different retailers, both brick and mortar and also digital. My website will show you upcoming schedules and readings. And by the way, I've neglected to say it, but we have a collective on Thursday. What a collective is, if you're brand new, is every sign, everybody shows up. And I read, it's kind of like I'm trying this new this month, but I want to do like a mid-month energy check-in. And I'm probably going to post a question for channel members and Patreon members tomorrow to see if there's any things that they're dealing with this month in particular. And we'll check in. So it'll be more in the month that we're in rather than ahead. And I'll just kind of see what's going on. So it'll be an energy check-in for all signs. So if you have decisions or things that are coming up and your sign's already been read for, you can always show up to one of my 2 collectives to see what's going on. So I encourage you to check in. You can follow me on social media for reminders. And if you like my dog, you can check out Instagram. I post a bunch of pictures of him there. And that's pretty much it. Just a reminder, if you watch this on replay, you can click the applaud button. It's right by the like and share. And thank you to everybody today who has contributed or become a channel member. Lots of love and light, everyone. I hope to see you again on Thursday. Thursday's the collective. Then I do Scorpio on Friday. And just a reminder, my schedule's pretty predictable. At least in the middle part of the month, I'm always broadcasting on Monday, Sunday and Monday, Thursday and Friday. On occasion, I will do some Instagram impromptu readings if you follow me there. And the last week of the month, maybe I have one less reading, but I'm pretty consistent in the Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Friday schedule. All right, take care, everybody. Apollo's sleeping, or I would grab him, but he's back there saying lots of love and light to you. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.